Any question there?
Hare Krishna. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand. Any student has any question, yes. You'll have to come. Maharaj, in Namaprada stage, there is no progress. Then I will come to Namabhas stage.
There's no
Progress.
yeah. Well, namaparad is if we have aparads which are intentional, usually it's very difficult to get rid of those, so we can't progress. So people that become devotees, generally they don't commit namaparads. And if we're progressing in bhakti, we have to avoid the namaparads. So that's why every morning we chant avoiding the namaparads. So as much as possible, we try to avoid all of this. So hopefully we're well beyond namaparad. Otherwise, faith could not develop, and faith is the qualification for bhakti.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you told that this Bahiranga Shakti of the Lord is Bahiranga Shakti is unconscious energy. Then when we talk about Maya Devi, so but like she is a person, right?
Well, we may have persons who are in charge, like we have Devatas in charge of material elements and Varuna in charge of the water, etc. But the water itself is unconscious. So Prakriti is also unconscious. So there's certain Devatas like Durga Devi and others in charge of it. That's all. Huh?
Hare Krishna. So there are many people who chant the secondary names and the names of other demigods. Like they follow pure devotion and they devote their life towards God. They are not educated about Krishna consciousness. What would be their fate? Even though they have followed so much of devotion towards other forms of Lord or other demigods.
So then, what? Where do they go?
What is the fate of them?
Oh, well, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you worship the Devatas, you go to the Devatas. You worship Pitras, you go to Pitras. Huh? So where do the Devatas reside? Svargaloka. So if you worship the Devatas, you can go to Svargaloka. And then we get another material body there, a subtle material body. You can live for a long time. But eventually, you may have to fall down back to earth again. So in other words, you continue to get material bodies.
Even the other secondary names of the Lord, or like Vishnu's names and others.
If you chant secondary names of Vishnu, then you can get liberation.
So they will not fall back in the material world, or
No.
are they in between?
Why do you say that the Naam is Chintamani? What do you mean by Chintamani? I mean, why do you say that the Naam is Chintamani? What does it give when we say that Naam is Chintamani?
Well, it can give you material benedictions, it can give you liberation, or it can give you prema. As the Lord also can do. Same thing. It can deliver all benedictions.
Any other question? I had a question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I understand the philosophy like karma, jivatma, paramatma, reincarnation. I understand all those things, but still I couldn't find time to chanting. But I hear all the speeches. But except chanting, I could do all the things like hearing, but not a formally chanting or 16 rounds of chanting. So how to get the determination? Like why, but even though I know all this stuff, but still I couldn't get progress.
Well, if you got time to hear at least, that means you have some time. So that you guys have time to chant one round of Hare Krishna, maybe?
My mind is attracted to philosophy, like hearing a lot of philosophy, Bhagavad Gita and all those things. I know philosophy is no use.
Yeah.
But
To hear about the Lord, actually, that's very good. So Shravana is also a process of bhakti. So we can progress by that, and we see that Parikshit got perfection by hearing Bhagavatam. So nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
But in Kali Yuga, the main process is chanting the name. So along with everything, we should also chant the name. Okay.
Any other student has any question? Any student has, please raise your hand. Mataji, go. Or is there any student?
Oops. Somebody.
Maharaj, let me ask a question. Maharaj, you said that if we just chant also, we can get the prema. Like usually it happens that when somebody is chanting, so it is generally accompanied by seva, because ultimately we are asking Krishna to, like while chanting we are requesting Krishna to give service. So won't it be that while also chanting one will also do some seva for Krishna or seva to devotees? Will he not be attracted to seva as well?
Yeah. Well, as I said, Nam Sankirtan is the main process. And with other processes, we should all chant the holy name. It doesn't mean we only chant the holy name and do nothing else. You can do that. So without any other process, you could just chant the holy name. But as I said, generally, to chant nicely, like in Sudanam, then we need knowledge. And with knowledge, then we need association. We have to get knowledge from somebody. So therefore, we need sadhu sangha also. So we need association in order to chant purely, etc. So we have the holy name, and then we have association. And what do? We hear. So Shravanam is also important. And in fact, we have 5 processes which are considered important. That is Nam Sankirtan, Shravanam, Sadhu Sangha, worship the deity, live in the holy Dham. These are all considered very, very powerful processes. Usually, our acharyas do all of those processes together. So like Goswamis, they all lived in Vrindavan, they all did hearing, chanting, worshiping the deity, did everything, all together. So generally we do all these processes, but there's always an emphasis upon the kirtan. And if you can't do the other processes, at least do the kirtan, and do chant the name of the Lord. So that's the idea. But generally it's hard to isolate and say only one process, but one main process, that's chanting of the holy name.
Also, Maharaj, you said that name, chanting of the holy name is like eternal process. It goes on in the spiritual world as well.
Yeah.
So, in the spiritual world, everyone is like in the Vrindavan, especially like everyone is serving Krishna in various rasas, various types of services they are performing always.
Yeah.
So, does it mean that each of those rasas, the devotees are also accompanying chanting of the holy names? Does that mean?
Yeah. We see even in Vrindavan, in the Bhagavatam, for instance, after Krishna goes to the fields in the morning, then the gopis are there and they start singing about Krishna all day long until he comes back in the evening. Or in the fields in the daytime when Krishna's with the cowherd boys, then they start singing. The cowherd boys start singing there again. So they're doing kirtan also in the fields and whatever when they're herding the cows, and in between that when they're playing, etc. So it's continuous. And then in evening time when Krishna goes home, and then he eats his dinner, and then he goes to the assembly, and they do kirtan again. So it's prominent in all the people of Vrindavan.
Maharaj, at our level, what happens to us is that though you say that Nam and Nami is not different, but though philosophically we may accept it, but when we start chanting Hare Krishna, it becomes very mechanical, and therefore to complete the 16 rounds, it becomes a very great austerity. Sometimes some students may not even be able to do it, and difficulty they may find.
Yeah.
So what should we do at our stage? We are not able to chant. Like for us, Krishna and name is very different.
Yeah. Well, of course, Prabhupada says the perfection of chanting is to realize the non-difference of Krishna and his name. So in the beginning stages, obviously, because we do have coverings of Maya, etc., that we don't get the full effect. However, by continuing to do so, then gradually the obstacles disappear and we develop more and more taste. So the impetus is obviously a taste. If we get a taste, then we have an impetus for getting more taste. So if we can develop that taste, then this can help us to chant nicely. So that taste, of course, will develop through one, of course, our own faith, then association, good association with other devotees who do have a taste, and hearing process. So if we can relish the wonderful form, qualities, and activities of Krishna, this will help us get a taste for Krishna and consequently the holy name also. So the Shravanam process is also very important.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I wanted to ask one question. Though we don't have at least personally in my stage, we don't have any faith or knowledge or qualification. How can we get the association of devotees who chant the names purely and constantly, Maharaj?
How can you get association?
Yes, how are we benedicted the association of pure devotees who chant constantly in pure manner?
Well, we have to aspire, that's all. And according to our qualification, the Lord will respond. And He will make some arrangement for us. So if you have strong desires in a certain direction, the Lord actually fulfills those things. If we desire advancement, the Lord will make some arrangement for it. Okay? So it depends on our desire.
Thank you, Maharaj.
This question, written question. If anybody is hesitating to ask, you can pass me on your chits also. This question is saying, when I count a bunch of 1,000 rupees, I do it with lot of absorption and I think it's concentration. But I don't get such concentration or absorption while chanting the holy name. How to get that absorption or concentration in the name?
Yeah. Well, we have what is called rasa svad, a taste of the spiritual rasa. So in the material world, we have a taste for a different type of rasa, that is material rasa. So if that is very strong, then we don't have a taste for Krishna. So if we don't have a taste for chanting and hearing about Krishna, that means desire for material enjoyment is very, very strong. If it's too strong, then we won't even practice. If it is a little bit weaker, then we can begin the process. So Bhagavatam says that the qualification for chanting bhakti is to have shraddha and not too much material attachment. If it's too strong, then we can't even do the chanting process properly. So if it is a little bit weaker, and we can start the process. If we continue the process, then gradually the material attraction will decrease and our attraction for Krishna will increase. So we have to persevere in the process itself, and this way we can reduce the material attraction and develop more attachment and taste for the Supreme Lord. And as I said, we do this in association of devotees and by the hearing process and other processes of bhakti. This will help us develop taste.
Anybody else? Prabhu wants to.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj. Maharaj talked about the taste, and the servant's question is related to that. I have been practicing Krishna consciousness for 2 years now, Maharaj, but still I don't seem to be yet developed the taste in chanting and association of devotees and all that. Mm-hmm. So, how do we understand, Maharaj? Is it because of my karma still, or my desires are not stronger yet?
Well, as I said, lack of taste is because we have too strong material attraction. Now, if we carry out the process, gradually that material attraction should decrease and our attraction for Krishna should increase. Now, if it's going very, very slowly, that will mean there's some fault or something in our process. We're doing something not so, good, so therefore the progress is slow. It should work, but it may be slow. So we have to find out how to get better execution of our bhakti so we can go quicker, that's all.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it was said that Antya Narayana Smriti means when the person chants the holy name of Narayana, he attains the Narayana. But we go to spiritual only when we attain the Prema stage. How it relates that you go to back to God by chanting Antya Narayana Smriti just like that?
Okay, so yes, if we remember the Lord when we die, then we go to the Lord. Of course, along with that is how we remember the Lord. So different people can remember in different ways. Like a demon remembering the Lord when he gets killed by the Lord, he goes to the Lord in one sense, if he get to liberation or whatever like that. But that's not the desire of the devotee. The devotee wants favorable relationship with the Lord in the spiritual world. So to do that, then you need prema. So it's not just memory of the Lord, but how you remember the Lord as well. Of course, we may think that we're going to remember the Lord when we die, even if we don't have prema, but actually it's very difficult to remember the Lord if you don't have prema, because you're so distracted by other things. You may think of something else. You could not predict what you're going to think of. Just as if you have an accident, what do you think of? Do you think of Krishna immediately? You may think, my body's hurting. You may think of so many different things. So when you're dying, you maybe think of how your body's in pain. You won't think of anything. You'll think of yourself. So it's very difficult for us to predict you're going to think of the Lord when we're going to die. So someone's very fortunate will, but other people won't. So like Bharat Maharaj, he had seen Vishnu in the Baba stage, but then he became attracted to a deer. So when he died, he thought of the deer. And then he became a deer as a result. So it's not always guaranteed what you're going to think of when you die, even in spite of your practice. And even if you're a Baba stage, you could forget.
So here are a few questions which are written questions, and we'll end with this because there is another class which is getting scheduled. One is this devotee is asking that there are so many poet devotees like Purandar Das, Tukaram, Surdas, and he is adding the name of Meera, etc. So they have written various songs about Krishna's pastimes, etc. So he's asking that can the devotees listen to these songs and also sing these songs?
It is possible that we would have to see if their philosophy is correct or whatever like that. Lord Chaitanya, he met Tukaram in one place. It's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he's also a great devotee.
Another question is saying that if someone is having very tight schedule due to a lot of material activities, like a student may be busy in some college or somebody is working, so but he has pure devotion to chant. So if he is not able to chant many rounds, how should he deal with that situation? He's saying that he has a lot of devotion, but is not getting time to chant many rounds.
Okay, so whatever he can do in chanting, he does that and fixes it and continues that regularly. And let his studies and whatever go on.
So next question continued to that was that, so is it necessary to chant a fixed number of rounds, like we say sometimes 16 rounds you should chant? So is it necessary to do that?
Well, according to the person and what his capacity is and the circumstance, then it's better to make a rule that you can do steadily than have no rule at all. Because then if you have no rule, then sometimes you don't do it at all. So better to have a rule so you can at least have some minimum standard. That's the idea.
So like someone should aspire for that standard, or what should you do?
Well, you can always aspire for it, but certain circumstances may be impossible. So at least we keep some minimum standard, that's all. And we do that steadily, it's not a problem.
He's asking how to attain Shuddha Nam stage quickly.
Oh, so proper knowledge through proper association. That's the main thing.
Does doing service increase our faith and removes obstacles in bhakti?
Well, service is also bhakti. So it destroys all obstacles by nature.
When we consider Krishna's name to be material, it is Nam Aparad. So what is this consideration? He's asking what is this consideration? Philosophically we know name is not different from Krishna, but how to practically demonstrate it? How to feel internally like this?
Oh, well, in the beginning stages, we don't have a complete realization of non-difference of Krishna from his name, but at least we accept that idea with our intelligence, rather than think, the name is a material sound, so it's limited, etc. So we accept what the scripture says. We may not have realization of it, but we accept it. And this way we don't commit any offense against the name or the Supreme Lord. So that's how we start out, even if we don't have the realization. We simply accept it as a fact without the realization, based on faith.